Hello, I'm Eric Weiss with Voyagent, and I'm going to try something a little bit different today. Usually, my content are these long form articles or podcasts or conference talks, but I want to try to address some smaller, more nuanced topics in some short form video content. So, see how this goes, and obviously, I'm open to your feedback. The way I want to approach this is there are some really common questions or failure patterns that I see with the companies that I work with and consult for. And so let's call this something terrible like ask a chief product officer. And so, with each episode, I'll take a common question and see if I can address it in a few minutes. So the first question that I want to tackle is one that came up very recently, but essentially, as a founder, as my organization grows, how do I ensure the same quality of output with my team as I had when I was the one doing everything? This really gets to the essence of how to delegate effectively as an organization grows. All too often, I find when I go into an organization, the executives are just way too far into the weeds and into the tactical stuff than where they should be. And they really need to be able to kind of pull back and spend more of their time in the strategic realm. And also just to get out of their own heads and their own conventions, which tend to kind of overfit the product to, one persona. So first, what are some of the main challenges, that you might be fearful of with respect to delegation? You might think that whoever the person is, they don't have all the context that they need. It may be efficient. It may simply take longer for them to do what needs to be done. And you're afraid that, they might give you something that is just totally not what you asked for. And fourth, and you may not be thinking about it, but it's likely, is that you just really don't know how to teach your team or teach your employees how you like work to be done. So the challenge is this, when we're founders, we're used to a high amount of ambiguity, and we're used to very large, complex problems that aren't very well defined. And we tend to be really good at working in that space and tackling those kinds of problems, breaking things down and doing all the subsequent tasks and ultimately coming up with solid work product, and then creating all of the shortcuts and whatnot in order to do it efficiently. So if you find yourself, really being bogged down in tactical work, the first thing I would say is take an inventory of all the activity that you do, in an average day. So kind of think about your role, think about all the things you're responsible for as a founder, as an executive. So for example, you're responsible for sales and marketing, product strategy, customer research, user experience, code reviews, DevOps, whatever it may be, however involved you are. Kind of map that all out and then really track how much time you're spending in each of these areas, and specifically, on any repetitive or manual tasks, or just, basic tasks that any professional in that area should do. And those are your targets. Those are the things that you need to think about how to delegate effectively. So find your most time-consuming, repetitive tasks that you can think of, and map out the whole process end to end. Kind of where do you start? What are the steps that you take? What are the tools that you use? Map out your process and then have the outcomes, and even examples of these outcomes. And this is something that you're going to use to train someone on your team to take this over for you. So you start with this overall map, and then, you get into some part of the process that's repeatable, and you really, step out every single step in that process in a way that it's repeatable. So imagine creating an instruction manual or even a video. You can even record yourself doing this task, and you put clear boundaries around it. So for example, if you're engaged in designing a new feature, one step in that might be doing a teardown of your competitors. Well, that's something that you can do, but it's something that any designer should do. So you go and take some examples of some good teardowns, and you teach that person, here's how you do a teardown. Now we're doing this new feature. I want you to go and do 3 teardowns of 3 different competitors that do something similar. Here's some examples, and I want to review it with you at the end of every day or every week or what have you. And then they go do that and they come back to you. Okay, now here's a thing that you never have to do again, right? You never have to worry about doing a teardown. Then you might be really involved in wireframing. Definitely something that a designer should be able to do. But maybe your reservation is that, that they're not going to get what you want. Nobody can create what you want better than you. Well, okay, so then you have to be better at explaining what you want, and then give them some artistic license, and then ultimately have them come back with a few different options and take the best one going forward. You might be able to, provide some review or some feedback, which can then be incorporated into the design. But chances are they're going to be 80% of the way there, and you should probably let go of some of the minutia and trust that that these folks are professionals and that their way is going to work to some degree. So similarly to that, if you're used to doing wireframes, take yourself one step up, one level of abstraction higher, and focus on the user flow diagram or the personas or the journey map, right? Really explain to them the problem, explain to them the constraints, and then give them a series of concrete tasks in order to get to a solution. So go off and do, see how our competitors are doing it. Do some teardowns. Go do some customer or user interviews and get some feedback around what's working and what's not working with our competitors. And then, here's how we map out a flow. Here are the goals that we have. Here's, I think, the general path and the information that we need and the steps we need to take to get there. Designer, go off and create me, 3 versions. And let's meet again at the end of every single day. Okay, and you do that through a few different cycles until they can show you that they've got it. And once they've got it, then you just check off. That's just another thing I'd never have to do again. That's one tendril, that I can release. And you continue to reflect on, again, this sort of time allocation of yourself as an executive and the roles that you're too involved with, where you need to pull back and probably spend more of your time and get deeper involved into some of the strategic stuff. So that's what I would say is really think and reflect on the work that you do, the tasks that are time consuming, focus on something that you think will have a real return on your investment, break it down very discreetly and concretely. Think about training the person through a few different cycles, have feedback loops and iterate with them and review with them on a very regular basis, just like we do in the agile development world, and then slowly but surely chip away at all of the baggage that you've taken with you since your bootstrap days, and now you're one step closer to being a mature executive. So that's it for this question. Please send me more if there's any other topics you want me to address. As always, go to www.voyagent.io for more content, conference talks, and if there's ever a need for maturity in your leadership, your product strategy, or your agile development process, please reach out to me. Thank you and have a wonderful day.